Organic learning doesn't happen in a situation where you have like one teacher and you have many students. It happens in a variety of ways. It happens organically. And I think that this is a wonderful opportunity for teachers to kind of take inventory of what they think learning is in their classroom. A lot of that stuff just is delivery of stuff. So really having the students take a look at what is available to, get an inventory of what the students can bring into the classroom with that, but also take advantage of the more complex questions to really engage students to go out and build relationships with folks, with other classroom, with other students on some of these issues so that they can develop new series of questions and new ways of looking at, new ways of finding problems, new ways of problem solving. I think that's something that teachers really need to really open up and really realize that there's a world out there that they can actually pull from, where they can benefit from. A good example of that, just from a personal story, when I became a teacher in 1997, and by 2000, I had been a part of a network of teachers called the Apple Distinguished Educator Community. And at the time, there weren't very many teacher networks. I mean, there were like email, pen pal type of communities. But two things. What the technology at the time, there was something called iChat, which is part of the AIM network, as well as with my ADE community, I realized that my colleagues aren't necessarily people at my school. And I recognized that early on, so I knew that I was not alone because I had people who I had access to almost immediately, obviously depending on the time of the day, using a network back then like AIM, which was early. I mean, now teachers have a variety of different social media opportunities to connect with other teachers. But I think that initial step of recognizing that your colleagues don't have to be people at your school, it sounds weird, it sounds strange, but it's actually pretty liberating because I knew that a lot of those people who thought that I was crazy at school with what I was doing, I knew that if I could reach out to my friends like in Australia, I mean, I had like you, Kim, I can count on you to bounce ideas off because I knew that I couldn't necessarily count on some of the teachers back at my school because they were at a different level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Survival for a lot of our teachers was a big issue, and I really wanted to take some of those opportunities to really engage in a deeper conversation. I think that instead of just looking at it as something for students, I think teachers, if you see themselves as a learner, recognize that they can't do it alone. You can't. Not in today's world. Today is much too complicated to feel that you can do it by yourself. And if you don't take advantage of the networks and the communities that are out there that can basically help you from asking the right questions to creating the content to distributing the learning to co-creating the content to curating the content, then you really are doing a disservice to your kids.
It's just following on from that a little bit, in a lot of what we've seen with particularly teachers here in South Australia, we're finding more and more teachers will participate in asynchronous and synchronous online communities in a social media context. And that participation is growing, but the thing we're still struggling with is contribution. Mm-hmm. Have you got any thoughts about how we can help teachers realise the importance of contribution and why that's vital?
Contributing to a body of work, not just taking. It's interesting. Years ago, one of my students told me that teachers are takers. They're not givers. They just take things from the internet. They just pull things from the internet. They don't add to it. And it was interesting because I started to ask students, like, how many of you add stuff to the internet, whether it's a photograph, whether it's a song, whether it's something you actually found and you wanted to share. There was a lot more sharing from students than there were actually from teachers. I know, sorry about that. There were a lot more. There were a lot more examples, and even to this day, I'd be very interested to really get a really good look at what is being contributed, in the internet and in the academic community. I still think that students are a lot more open to contribute something that's in the process of learning, whereas teachers. And again, this is a overgeneralization, but I guess it's good for conversation. are they uploading things that they feel that are done? And I think that that's something that teachers need to realize, that the internet is not just a place where you, like in the past, where you once you're done, whatever that is, you published material and then you shelved it. Why not look at the internet as an opportunity to share with the world what you're working on, what you're thinking, and then obviously, in time, you realize that you've actually created a huge body of work. I mean, I look at bloggers, everybody from silly bloggers that blog about entertainment stuff like Perez Hilton, to serious business bloggers like Seth Godin, or education bloggers like Wesley Fryer. I mean, over time, if they had sat down they were going to write a book, they probably would have taken them a lot longer than the number of books that they've actually been able to put together now, based on this thinking that they can create on an ongoing basis. So I think that that's something that's really important for teachers to realize the opportunities that exist in contributing ideas now, not at the end of the week or at the end of the unit, or we do projects when we're finished with the academic learning. But what does it look like when we're presenting content as we go along? That is a paradigm. That is a paradigm shift that unfortunately still hasn't happened at a big level.